March 12th, 2023. Calgary, Alberta. 3:47 a.m. The city is a silent, frozen breath, under a sky still bruised with night. Inside the cavernous, almost empty shopping mall, the scent of industrial-strength cleaner hangs heavy, a chemical fog in the pre-dawn chill. Emeka pushes his heavy trolley, the squeak of its wheels the only sound cutting through the artificial quiet. He moves through the fluorescent-lit corridors, a ghost in a land that feels both promising and indifferent. His paycheck from this thankless nocturnal shift barely covers the cost of living in this booming yet expensive Canadian city. Every dollar earned is a hard-fought battle against the relentless march of rent, groceries, and the pressure to send income back home to Nigeria. This low salary, trapped in an endless loop of floor waxing and trash removal, offers no investment in a future he had once dared to dream of. He knows, deep in his bones, that this cannot be his story's climax. This is merely the prologue to a different kind of war, a battle for economic survival and a place in the Canadian dream. The fluorescent hum of the mall was a constant drone, a soundtrack to Emeka's quiet despair. For nearly a year, since arriving in Calgary as a hopeful newcomer from Nigeria, his life had been defined by the mop and bucket. His days, or rather his nights, were a blur of wiping, scrubbing, and polishing surfaces that would only be dirtied again by the morning rush. He'd left behind a country with ambition but limited opportunity, trading it for what he hoped would be a land of endless possibility. Instead, he found himself trapped in a cycle of low-wage labor, his basic English and lack of Canadian work experience acting like invisible shackles. Each month, as he reviewed his T4 slip and calculated his net income, the reality was stark. His salary barely covered his shared basement suite rent and the ever-rising cost of living in Calgary. The few dollars he managed to save were immediately sent home, a lifeline to his family who depended on his remittances. He saw other immigrants, some with less education than him, flourishing in trades, driving good trucks, buying homes. They spoke a different language, not just of English fluency, but of economic mobility and career progression. Emeka felt like he was running on a treadmill, expending immense energy, but staying in the exact same spot. The breaking point wasn't a sudden explosion, but a slow, corrosive erosion of his spirit. It was the condescending tone of a supervisor, the ache in his back that never fully subsided, the gnawing certainty that his investment in migrating to Canada was yielding a tragically low return. One bitter Calgary morning, as the sun finally crested the horizon, painting the snow-covered peaks in hues of orange and pink, Emeka saw a crew of plumbers arrive at the mall. They were laughing, joking, confidently striding in their work boots, carrying pipe wrenches and cases of fittings. They weren't just working, they were solving problems, building things, commanding respect. And their hourly rate, he knew, from overheard conversations, was significantly higher than his meager wage. That image solidified something in him. He understood then that the capital he needed to acquire wasn't just money, but skill capital. The janitorial job offered no upskilling, no professional development. It was a dead end. He started searching. He haunted job fairs, scoured online forums, and devoured every pamphlet on immigrant settlement services. That's when he found it, a pre-apprenticeship plumbing program offered by a local college, explicitly tailored for newcomers, complete with ESL support. The tuition cost was substantial, a terrifying investment considering his financial precarity. It meant tighter belts, even less sent home, and working his janitorial shifts even harder to save up. But the alternative, a lifetime of cleaning toilets, was a far more terrifying cost. With a mixture of fear and fierce determination, Emeka filled out the application, his basic English straining to articulate his dreams. This was his departure from the known, a desperate leap into the unknown. Driven by the unwavering belief that his future held more than just a mop and a broom, The pre-apprenticeship program was a battlefield of a different kind. A classroom filled with a diverse cohort of anxious faces from every corner of the globe, buzzed with a cacophony of accents. For Amika, the ESL support was a lifesaver, a critical bridge over the chasm of technical jargon and Canadian idioms. He grappled not just with pipe dimensions and plumbing codes, but with understanding the rapid-fire instructions of his instructors, or thick Canadian accents, sometimes a blur of sounds. Terms like rough-in, pet trap, vent stack. Drainage fixture units felt like a foreign language within a foreign language. He spent countless nights with his textbooks, translating, rereading, drawing diagrams until his hands ached. This was a mental grind as much as it was a physical one. Graduating from the pre-apprenticeship was only the first skirmish one. The real trenches of the trade lay ahead, securing a formal apprenticeship. With his newly minted certificate and a raw eagerness that radiated from him, Emeka pounded the pavement. He applied to every plumbing company in Calgary, enduring rejection after rejection. No Canadian experience, English not strong enough, were common refrains, but he refused to yield. Finally, a small residential plumbing contractor, Summit Plumbing and Heating, took a chance. They needed an extra pair of hands, and Emeka's dedication, despite his language challenges, shone through. His first day on a job site was a brutal initiation. Calgary winter had returned with a vengeance, the ground frozen solid. He spent hours in freezing crawl spaces, hands numb, hauling heavy lengths of copper pipe, digging trenches for sewer lines, and navigating tight, dusty attics. This was no longer the sterile environment of the mall. This was dirt, sweat, and genuine physical exertion. His starting wage as a first-year apprentice was $18 an hour, significant improvement from his janitorial salary, but still a tight squeeze against the cost of living. He learned quickly that plumbing wasn't just about pipes and water. It was about precision, problem-solving, and resilience. He watched his journeyman, Liam, a gruff but patient veteran, meticulously cut and fit pipe, sweat joints, and troubleshoot complex systems. Emeka absorbed everything, asking questions, sometimes fumbling with the English, but always learning. He learned the shop talk, the shortcuts, the subtle nuances of dealing with clients. He learned to differentiate between a gate valve and a ball valve, the importance of a properly sloped drainage line, and the sheer frustration of a stripped screw. Every day was a masterclass in practical application and problem-solving under pressure. The investment in himself was no longer just financial. It was an investment of grit, humility, and an unshakable belief in the return he would eventually see. He was in the grind, building not just plumbing systems, but also his future, one fitting at a time. The breakthrough didn't arrive with a fanfare, but with the quiet satisfaction of competence. It came after 18 months in the trenches, after countless frozen fingers and sweat-soaked shirts, after finally understanding Liam's rapid-fire instructions without needing a moment to translate. Emeka's English, once a barrier, had transformed into a clear, confident tool. He could now confidently explain a repair to a homeowner, order parts from a supplier, and even crack a joke with the rest of the crew. His technical skills had sharpened dramatically. He was no longer just a helper. He was a capable second-year apprentice, entrusted with more complex tasks, often sent out on his own for smaller service calls. Then came the day Liam pulled him aside. "Emeka," he'd said, his voice unusually soft, "you're hitting your stride. You're worth more than what we're paying you." Emeka braced himself, expecting perhaps $1 or $2 raise. Liam continued, "We're bumping you up to $25 an hour, effective next paycheck. We're going to fast-track you for your next block of schooling. You've earned it." The words hit Emeka like a seismic shift. $25 an hour. This wasn't just a raise. It was a validation, a tangible return on investment for every early morning, every scraped knuckle, every late-night studying. That month's income statement felt different. The dollars were not just numbers on a page. They represented freedom, stability, and dignity. He calculated how much more he could send home. His family, struggling with their own cost of living pressures in Nigeria, would feel the ripple effect of his success. He was no longer just surviving, he was thriving. He bought his own complete set of professional plumbing tools, a significant investment that felt like ownership. No more borrowing, no more making do. These were his tools, earned through his sweat. The PR card he had worked so hard for now felt less like a piece of plastic and more like a symbol of belonging. He had a clear career path ahead, leading towards journeyman status and the coveted Red Seal certification. The financial breakthrough allowed for more than just sending money home. He started a small savings account, envisioning a down payment for a modest home in Calgary one day. The city that had once felt indifferent now felt like a place he could truly build a life. Emeka wasn't just plumbing pipes. It was laying the foundations for a future that once seemed unimaginable. The investment in himself was now yielding dividends, not just in salary, but in confidence, respect, and a profound sense of purpose. He saw now that the cost of his struggle was not in vain. It was the crucible that forged his success. With his Red Seal Journeyman certification within sight, Emeka's career trajectory was no longer a dream, but a concrete plan. The $25 an hour he now commanded as an apprentice was a solid foundation, but he understood this was merely a stepping stone. As a fully certified journeyman plumber in Calgary, his income potential would surge, realistically reaching $40, $50 per hour, sometimes more for specialized jobs or double time on urgent calls. The cost of living in Calgary, while still high, no longer felt like an insurmountable obstacle. It was a manageable expense within his growing economic empire. The next few years would be an investment in education, completing his final blocks of technical training and honing his skills on diverse job sites. From sprawling commercial builds to intricate residential renovations, he envisioned the moment he'd walk across the stage, a Red Seal in hand, testament to his resilience and unwavering dedication. That certification wasn't just a piece of paper. It was a passport to prosperity, recognized across all of Canada, opening doors to advanced roles, supervisory positions, or even the ultimate dream, starting his own plumbing contracting business. Emeka now saw dollars differently. They weren't just for survival. They were capital for growth. He began exploring investment opportunities, looking into buying his first property, perhaps a duplex in a developing Calgary neighborhood, renting out one half to offset his mortgage. He'd started contributing to an RRSP-registered retirement savings plan, a long-term investment in his golden years, something he couldn't have even conceived of during his janitorial days. The ability to provide not just for his immediate family back home, but to build a legacy for future generations filled him with a quiet pride. He also found himself becoming a mentor. New immigrants on job sites fresh off the plane would often seek him out, their eyes reflecting the same hope and fear he once carried. Emeka, with his now impeccable English and deep understanding of the Canadian labor market, offered advice, encouragement, and practical guidance. He understood the unique challenges they faced, the cultural integration hurdles, the language barriers, and the desperate need for career pathways. He had built his own empire from nothing, not with armies or conquerors, but with grit, a wrench, and an unshakable belief in the power of skilled trades. His journey from an unnoticed janitor to a respected, financially stable plumber was a living testament to the true ROI of hard work and strategic investment in oneself in the demanding yet rewarding landscape of the modern Canadian workforce. His story, once a quiet struggle, was now a loud, clear declaration of victory.